Guys, so I thought today I'd do a little roundup of my top 3 favourite foundations to wear, because I know that I feature BB creams a lot on this channel. So I thought showing some foundations would be good because I don't often necessarily use them in my tutorials. My top 3 choices I think are pretty good because they're quite versatile. A lot of them go for different skin types, which is quite nice, and they're all really buildable, which I like, because the kind of pet peeve I have with foundation, which is why I tend to steer clear of it, is that sometimes it can look really cakey on the skin. But these top 3 that I have picked very rarely go cakey. They're quite easily buildable, which is nice. These aren't in any particular order. I don't have like a number 1 to number 3. It's just my kind of top 3. But I will just say one thing. I am definitely the type of person that believes that foundation is the kind of one makeup product that should definitely be kind of splurged on. These are fairly pricey foundations, but they are honestly so worth the money because these are just, they're really good. If you're looking for kind of drugstore, my favourite kind of drugstore foundations, that won't be in this video. I don't really tend to use drugstore foundations at all. I tend to just go for the BB creams because I find drugstore or high street foundations to not have a very good colour range, and obviously I am ridiculously pale, so they often don't match me, so I tend to steer clear of them completely. But with that said, I'll get on to my kind of first pick, which is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This I have had in my collection for a fair while. It's popped up in a few of my videos. This is the most expensive choice of my 3. This is £34, give or take. It depends where you buy it. I know that it's £34 in John Lewis. That's just the website I was working off because I think it's possibly one of the cheapest. So you can get it on the John Lewis website for definite. And as I said, yeah, £34. I'll just give you the kind of info which Giorgio Armani supply for this. So they say it's an oil-free hydrating fluid, and it has their microfill technology, which I honestly don't know too much about. But basically all I know is that it glides on the skin really nicely. It looks really lightweight and sheer, almost to the point where when you're applying it you can barely see it, which I'm hoping you'll be able to kind of pick up in the footage of me applying it. I hope you'll be able to pick that up, that it's very kind of lightweight on the skin, but it's hugely buildable with coverage, which is what I like. What's also nice about this foundation is that it gives a kind of radiance finish. That's how they describe it. It gives a kind of glow to the skin, but it doesn't have any SPF in it at all, so it's really great for flash photography, so kind of nights out or like parties or events. This is a perfect foundation to go for because it doesn't have that horrible flashback of the white face. So yeah, it just looks really seamless on the skin. No matter how much you build it up, it never looks heavy, which is what's really nice. Other perks of this foundation is obviously the packaging. It has gorgeous glass packaging, so you definitely get what you pay for. But also it has a pump, and then finally of course it has tons of different shades. You may notice in my little application footage where I'm putting it on, mine is actually quite a bit darker than my natural skin colour. And I did that intentionally just because I tend to wear this on nights out when I've usually got fake tan on, so that's why I did that. But they have a really good colour range. I believe they have about 15 shades, so you're more than likely going to be able to find a colour that matches you. Okay, so then my next pick is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Light. This, again, I've had for absolutely ages. I also have the original Double Wear, but I find that way too heavy, which is why this is a great alternative to that one, because it has amazing coverage, but it applies a lot lighter. It's more lightweight, so your skin doesn't feel like completely cemented down. I don't know, if you've used Double Wear you might understand what I mean by that. Again, this is fairly expensive. This is about £24-ish. Again, you can get it at John Lewis, but also Debenhams, etc., anywhere that sells Estee Lauder really. I have mine in the Intensity 1, which is the palest shade, and I find that it's actually a really good colour for me. Again, they have a pretty good colour range because they're quite a high-end brand, so that's always nice with the foundations. Estee Lauder described this as a sheer to medium coverage, which I completely and utterly disagree with. I would say that this is definitely a medium coverage. This isn't sheer at all, so I don't really know why they call it that, but it's also buildable, which is nice. You can put on a light layer and still get a really good coverage, but if you wanted to, you could really build it up and have a kind of perfect, flawless finish and it still wouldn't look heavy on the skin. This one does have an SPF of 10, but I find that it still doesn't look too bad in photos. It doesn't have a really bad flashback, which is quite nice. So I do sometimes wear this on kind of nights out, because what's really nice about this one is it's really, really long wearing, more so than the Giorgio Armani. I find that throughout the day the Giorgio Armani one can sometimes look a little bit oily as your skin wears throughout the day, but this one kind of gives you a natural slash semi-matte finish, so it's really long lasting. They say it lasts up to 15 hours, which I think is probably fairly accurate. This is always the pick that I would go for when I was going to work for a long day, because I just knew it would stay on. This is also oil free as well as the Giorgio Armani, so they're pretty suitable for most skin types. I would say if you have more oily skin, I'd go more towards the Estee Lauder Double Wear, just because the finish is more matte than the Giorgio Armani. And then finally I have my semi-cheap-ish pick, which is my MAC Studio Tech. I believe this is about £24 and you can get it obviously on the MAC websites, MAC stores or counters, and then also I think possibly you can get some MAC items on the Debenhams website. This is a kind of cream formula foundation, but as you apply it, it kind of transforms into an almost cream to powder formulation. I personally would say that this foundation is quite full coverage, but it's definitely one that's hugely buildable, so if you wanted to, you could put a really sheer amount on and just really buff it into the skin and give a kind of natural light layer, or you could build it up and make a kind of really flawless, almost airbrushed finish, which I really like because again it's more versatile. You can, as I said, all of them you can build up kind of to your own specification, which is nice. Again, similar to the Estee Lauder, I'd say this has a kind of natural to matte finish. This one's kind of a bit more of an airbrush finish, so this definitely has a kind of really luxurious, kind of glamorous finish to the skin, although my only problem with this is that I find it doesn't last that long on the skin, so you would have to touch it up throughout the day, which is fine because it's a compact, so you can take it around with you, but obviously it's a bit annoying having to completely touch up your foundation because that's underneath your bronzer, blusher, etc. So you kind of have to redo everything. So yeah, they're my favourite kind of top 3 foundations, and I will just say one little thing to end the video, which is, although I've said that all of these are buildable, which they are, you can build them up and they're not going to look really horrendously cakey on the skin. I know that a lot of people tend to try and go for the most full coverage foundation they can because they think it gives the most flawless finish, when actually it would be a lot wiser maybe to get a really good coverage concealer, a kind of heavy duty one, maybe something like the Collection 2000 Lasting Perfection concealer. I know that also Estee Lauder have a double wear concealer, which is amazing. I used to use that a while back, because if you conceal your areas like maybe blemishes or discoloration, under eye circles, etc., if you cover them really well, you'll notice that your skin doesn't actually need a huge amount of coverage, so you can use a lighter coverage foundation and that will ultimately make you look far more flawless because you'll just look like you have naturally perfect skin rather than having a kind of layer of foundation on. Anyway, that's just my kind of 2 cents into the whole foundations thing. These are my kind of top picks. As you guys know, I often use BB creams anyway. If I had to go for a foundation, it would definitely be out of these 3. I'll leave all the info of each of the foundations below, so if you are interested in any of them, you'll know which one to kind of go for depending on your skin type and all things like that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that and I'll see you guys soon.